My name is Anita Benefor, and I am one of the placement students for A Safer Space. I will be presenting on language and autism today. What is clinical language? Clinical language includes impartial impressions that the therapist has of a client. The words used to refer what the mental health practitioner observes, objective and factual. So how do people with autism often interpret language? People with ASD encounter challenges with colloquial slang phrases. It must be said that the onset that not all people with ASD will have a problem with colloquial phrases, but some will and will find it impossible or difficult to overcome these problems except by rigorous learning, and this might be difficult or impossible for many. So they take language very literally. So you have to be very careful the way you speak and the things you say to them. Your words actually do matter. ASD population are very vulnerable and can internalize words and their behaviors as inherently negative, so which will lead to a lower self-esteem. So what do I mean by this? If you are working with somebody who is autistic, or you're friends with somebody who is autistic, or you come across somebody who's autistic and you say something like, "Oh, you're so nasty," they will take you calling them nasty as something negative, and they might internalize that as there's something wrong with them. They might be doing something that is nasty, but the fact that you said you are so nasty, they will take that and run with it. Positive language. Using positive language and reinforcements when ASD youth accomplish a goal or do something well tremendously boosts their self-confidence and self-esteem. So for example, complimenting and praising them after they complete a task, a chore, or homework. One of the clients that I work with really thrives off of being told that they are a good boy. So if he completes his major room chore for the week, he will say to me, "Am I a good boy? Good boy, right? Good boy, right?" And I will definitely I will acknowledge that, and I will let him know he's doing well. I even tell him that while he's doing his chore, so that it gives him some sort of boost in confidence. Sometimes he'll just be talking to himself and he will be reassuring himself of positive things, positive affirmations. And I think that's very good that he does that for himself. Nonverbal cues and language. Tone and body language are very, very, very important. We must be very careful about how we speak and how we come off. Tone matching and positive energy is very important when interacting with ASD individuals. So what does this mean? You might not be in the best space, and your body posture is pretty sluggish, or you have your arms crossed while you're speaking to them, or your head down. They might take that as you're upset with them. I have another client that, when you come in to work and you might not be in the best of moods, he picks up on that right away and he'll say, "Are you sad? What's wrong? Are you mad at me?" He doesn't understand that maybe sometimes I'm just having a bad day, but he automatically assumes that he did something wrong. So again, because they're so vulnerable, you have to be very careful with how you appear or how you come off, because they will take that as something that they did wrong. Another example I have of that particular client is he is somebody that's very animated. So, if you're interacting with him and you're not on the same energy level, he will not be as receptive to you. He'll ask if he can work with somebody else, or he'll tell you he doesn't want to work with you because you're being mean, or you're not being nice to him, when really you might just not be in the best mood. So if he's happy, you also want to mirror that behavior as well, because they pick up on that. What is labeling? Labeling, depending on the spelling, is defining or describing a person in terms of his or her behavior. For example, describing someone who has broken the law as a criminal. The term is often used in sociology to describe human interaction, control, and identification of a deviant behavior. So, in short, the labeling is something negative. When you're working with the ASD population, again, you want to be careful with how you label the behaviors of what they're doing, or just labeling in general. If a child is picking their nose constantly, the first thing to say is identifying why what they're doing is not right, as opposed to just saying, that's disgusting or you're disgusting. You could say, instead of picking your nose, why don't you get a Kleenex and wipe your nose so that you can be a little bit more cleanly? Because, there's germs and bacteria, as opposed to just going off and stating that they are despicable and that they are nasty and that they are atrocious. Those are pretty extreme adjectives, but that's the point I'm trying to make. They will take what you're saying as that extreme, even if you don't mean it about them per se or their personality. What is identifying the behavior? Identifying the behavior is using language in a way that distinguishes between a person and their actions, making a clear distinction between a person and their actions. So again, if somebody is picking their nose, not calling them disgusting, telling them, the action itself is not the cleanliest or is not sanitary or hygienic, but not calling them nasty. Taking the personal out of it and focusing it on the behavior is what works best when dealing with autistic children. I have 4 discussion questions here I would like you guys to answer, so if you can just leave your comments below, that would be great. Are there ways in which labeling can be helpful or unhelpful? What ways have you labeled someone? What are the benefits of using language that identifies the behavior versus labeling the person based on their behaviors? What ways have you heard identifying behavior used? Has it worked or has it not? Again, I'd love to see your comments. The way we talk to children becomes their inner voice. Lead with love. Thank you, and that is the end of my presentation.